Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here at the Miserable Liberal and Ron Placone.
I'm miserable.
Howdy, howdy.
So guess what? There's another gas attack in Syria. And let's remind you what happened the last time there was a gas attack in Syria. The news media was very skeptical, very critical, and they lamented the loss of life. That comes from any military confrontation. Here's Brian
Go into
Williams.
greater detail. We see these beautiful pictures at night from the decks of these two U.S. Navy vessels in the eastern Mediterranean. I am tempted to quote the great Leonard Cohen, I'm guided by the beauty of our weapons.
So that's how Brian Williams at MSNBC handled a missile attack. They're beautiful. Here's what Fareed Sakari said about Trump bombing Syria.
Day 78 of the Trump presidency. What changed last night?
I think Donald Trump became president of the United States. I think this.
That's what it takes to become president. You need to bomb somebody over a gas attack in someone else's country, a country that has nothing to do with us. Why we're there, I have no idea. I do have an idea. I know exactly why we're there. But guess what? So remember that? He became president and Brian Williams nutted in his pants. And then it turns out General Mattis admits there was no evidence Assad used poison gas on his people. Lost in the hyper-politicized hullabaloo surrounding the Nunez Memorandum and the Steele dossier was the striking statement by Secretary of Defense James Mattis that the U.S. has, quote, no evidence that the Syrian government used the banned nerve agent sarin against its own people. So that gets swept under the rug. That's the last one. The first one happened in 2013. That also was debunked and proved to be a false flag operation. So what a false flag operation is that the rebels, ISIS and Al-Qaeda, who are being funded by Saudi Arabia to overthrow Assad so they can put a pipeline through Syria, ISIS and Al-Qaeda, which are being funded by Saudi Arabia and the United States, are losing. And what they do to draw the United States into a confrontation is to do these false flag gas attacks, saying, look, Assad's gassing his own people. The United States has to save us. Meanwhile, we're committing a genocide in Yemen right now at help with Saudi Arabia. So we don't care about people or anybody getting killed. So that's how you know this is propaganda. We don't care about people being killed. We're killing them right now. We're doing siege warfare in Yemen, which is a war crime. Okay. So now, the new one, here's the latest, dozen killed in suspected chemical attack on Syrian rebel enclave. So that's and they always have the pictures of the kids, right? And then, but we never have pictures of the kids we're bombing in Syria or the kids that were bombed. By the way, Saudi Arabia did an airstrike today, killed 14 people, kids included, in Syria. Where are those pictures? Where are the pictures of the dead kids we're killing in Yemen with our siege warfare? Where are the pictures of the slave trade that's happening in open markets in Libya because we turned that into a failed state? This is exactly what we keep doing. We did it in Afghanistan. We did it in Iraq. We did it in Libya. We're doing it in Syria. And so here, and then Trump promised Assad will pay a price, but it may make little difference. This is from The Independent today, that they will pay a price. And what does Russia say back? Russia warns U.S. of grave repercussions if it attacks Syria. So is anyone afraid yet about World War III over nothing? It's not nothing. It's over the same thing it's always been over. Oil, fossil fuels, money, and power. That's what it's over. It's not about helping people. It's not about saving babies from gas attacks. It's not about any of that stuff. It's not about democracy or freedom. This is, again, another fossil fuel grab. This is all propaganda. Well, here's from The Guardian or The Independent. The Independent says, it remains mysterious why Assad should provoke the United States and Europeans just as his moment of victory in Damascus and when the rebels are on the point of surrender or have already done so. Yeah, it's really a head scratcher. It's weird that Russia would poison a guy in such an obvious way that could be traced right back to the Kremlin in the UK. It's weird that they would do that right before the Russian elections and before the soccer. It'd be weird that they would do it in such a clumsy way. Also weird that Assad would do this, right? He's winning and they just about all expect, and then he would go and do this. That would draw. That's just so funny. It's just so, he's such a dummy. He's such a dummy, but we caught him, right? And here it is. Trump vows quick action. Why quick action? Why not wait for an investigation to be conclusive? Why not? Because this isn't about anything except propaganda and starting more war. And I'm already the best journalist in the country right now because turn on MSNBC and CNN and see if they're telling you what's really happening in Syria and that this is a false flag attack. Again, they won't even mention the last one was. Do you think they're going to mention that frickin' Mattis said there was no evidence of the last one? And then the one before that was debunked too. That stuff came through Turkey. So here we are. Here we are again. It remains mysterious. You mean counterintuitive and stupid and transparently propagandistic? That's what you mean? Trump vows quick attack. Why a quick attack? Because you got to do it before the evidence comes out. The same reason why Bush wanted to order all the weapons inspectors out of Iraq before the truth came out. This is what warmongers do. And it looks like the intelligence community has Trump by the balls now, and he's doing whatever they want. It looks like it. And now they got Bolton in there, and Bolton's going to do whatever the intelligence community wants. He's a bigger warmonger than the warmongers. The suspected chemical weapons attack late on Saturday killed at least 60 people with more than 1,000 injured in several sites in Douma, a city near the capital, Damascus, according to Syrian organization. 2 days later, the White House was still only able to say that the attack fit the pattern of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's chemical weapons use. We just showed you that Mattis admitted the last one there was no evidence, and the one before that was debunked. So what pattern is that? You mean that pattern of false flags by ISIS who were funding? You mean that pattern? It actually fits a pattern of false flags. That's what it fits a pattern of. That's how we got into Vietnam. Vietnam was a complete false flag. That's how we got into Kuwait-Iraq war the first time, the first Gulf War. Do you remember what happened during the first Gulf War? Do you remember the propaganda they spewed then?
Iraq attacks Kuwait, claiming the Kuwaitis are slant drilling into Iraq's oil fields. U.S. President George Herbert Walker Bush pushes for a land war against Iraq. But polls show the U.S. public is split 50-50 on that idea. Then comes this eyewitness testimony before a congressional committee from a 15-year-old Kuwaiti girl. The claim is she cannot be identified for fear of reprisals.
While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of the incubators. Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
The U.S. public is outraged. The result? Support for land war zooms. It's a turning point. Desert Storm is launched. 135,000 Iraqis are killed. An estimated 1 million Iraqis, many of them children and old people, then die as a result of 10 years of sanctions. One small problem. There never were any incubator baby deaths, not one. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation's investigative flagship program, The Fifth Estate, reveals the girl to be the Kuwaiti ambassador's daughter, given her lines and coached in acting by the giant American PR firm Hill & Knowlton. It's one phase in a $10 million joint U.S.-Kuwaiti campaign of deception. This man is lying.
I myself buried 40 newborn babies that had been taken from their incubators.
This man is lying.
And they had kids in incubators, and they were thrown out of the incubators so the Kuwait could be systematically dismantled.
There were a lot of people who participated in a conspiracy. Yes, an out-and-out conspiracy of fake organizations, false documents, fraud, and disinformation. So, if a new man named Bush is in the White House and helps engineer a brazen deception in order to achieve global geopolitical goals, as well as domestic and personal ones, it wouldn't be a first, would it?
Does anybody in the media ever mention any of this? Answer no. Does MSNBC bring Phil Donahue on, who got the BS about the Iraq War right the first time? The second Iraq War? Do they bring Phil Donahue on? No. In fact, they fired Phil Donahue because he was right. And MSNBC is owned by a defense contractor that makes bazillions of dollars off of war. That's what's going on. Hey, here's some more from Reuters. Initial U.S. assessments have so far been unable to determine conclusively what materials were used in the attack and cannot say with 100% certainty that Assad's government forces were behind it. Yet Trump has to decide within 48 hours. He's going to recite in 40 hours and we're going to attack right away. Why? Because it's not true. That's why. Just like I pointed out in our last video about this, why would you smear Jeremy Corbyn when Jeremy Corbyn says, let's wait for evidence in this Skripal poisoning? Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's wait for the evidence to come out, and if it's really the Russians behind it, we'll deal with it then. But let's not jump to conclusions without evidence, because that's irresponsible. And then they smeared him for that. Well, if they had the evidence, why wouldn't they just show it to him? Why would they smear him? Because they don't have it. That's why. That's why. And here's from Medium, new Syrian chemical. This is from Caitlin Johnson, who's excellent on this topic. She says, new Syrian chemical weapon attacks being reported by all the usual suspects. So she goes, so to be clear, we're being asked by these people to believe that Bashar al-Assad launched a mass casualty chemical attack, the thing which would provoke the wrath of the U.S. war machine, just as Trump was seeking a withdrawal from Syria and just as Assad was approaching victory in Duma. This is what we're supposed to believe. And this is what they do believe at MSNBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post. This is what they do believe. They don't believe this.
Yeah, I was going to say.
This is what they push.
Yeah, this is what
because
they're paid
you'll
to
get
print.
fired. It'll be bad for your career if you do what I'm doing. But guess what? I don't want to be in their goddamn club. So that's why I get to tell you the truth. We are being asked to ignore the fact that the area is crawling with actual literal terrorists, ISIS and Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, to ignore the Western Empire's extensive history of using lies, propaganda, and false flags to manufacture support for military aggression is to ignore the extremely suspicious Western funding and terrorist ties of the White Helmets who are circulating these photos and information, and to ignore the fact that Syria has been a target of imperialist regime change for many, many years. We are being asked to ignore all that and believe instead that Assad spontaneously began acting against his own self-interest so that he could kill children for no discernible reason. This is the worst thing. If the worst thing you could do as Assad is to do this right now, why would he do this? There's no discernible reason. It says so much about the power of Western media psyops that this has a strong chance of being believed. It is being believed. Well, so I love this. This is Assad. Well, you see, I was winning the war against ISIS and al-Nusra, but then I decided to order an illogical chemical attack to turn the whole world against me because everything was just going too well for me. And here's one more great one. Here's a great meme. This is from The Art of War. It says, when your enemy is nearly defeated and final victory is at hand, gas your own people so the nations greater than yours will intervene and destroy you.
I thought that was from The Prince, but I guess Art of War. All right.
Yeah.
I thought.
There it is, Art of War. That's what it tells you. When you're just about to win, do something that makes sure you get destroyed by a stronger country. It's funny because it's so obvious, but it's sad because people who should be telling you the truth and know better aren't. You don't think Chris Hayes has the access to the information I have? You don't think Lawrence O'Donnell has access to the information I have? You don't think Lawrence O'Donnell has Phil Donahue's number? Of course he does. But these are corporate tools, and that's why we have a show, because they'll never going to tell you the truth about war. Ever. Chris Hayes spent 3 minutes telling the truth about Palestine and Israel last week, and everyone almost shit themselves. People were tweeting it out and talking about what a great 3 minutes he spent telling the truth about Israel and Palestine, and that was groundbreaking at MSNBC. Someone told the truth about Israel. That's what a big deal. That's how infrequently it happens that it went noticed by everybody that Chris Hayes told the truth about Israel and Palestine. That was unbelievable. Well, they're not telling you the truth about this. They don't have the balls. And the people at CNN, they're picked because they're dumb. Go watch broadcast news. They're William Hurt. They're chosen because they're incurious, dumb repeaters of information the government gives them. That's why they're hired. Anyway, I don't want to pick on Don Lemon. I think Anderson Cooper is the best guy to sniff this out. Member of the Vanderbilt family. So now you know the rest of the story, and there's way more to this. I mean, more BS. But here we are again. I mean, couldn't be more transparent how bad this the poisoning in the UK was of the double agent, how transparently obvious it was, propaganda, and this too.
Well, you know what's particularly ridiculous this time around? They're not even trying to make light of the fact or hide the fact that there hasn't even been an investigation. They're has there been an investigation yet? No, well, 24 to 48 hours. Like that should be on the front page everywhere. World's strongest empire going to react without an investigation at all. At all.
Sounds like the right thing to do, Ron.
Sounds like the right thing to do.
You know, their lives at stake here. You know, I want to point out, Jimmy, that you have there, you know, you're saying it's from The Art of War. I just want to remind everybody, we're not in war. The last time war was declared was by Roosevelt. That was the last time that war was declared.
The rest of these have been
Korea, Vietnam, Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, Iraq. Technically, those aren't wars, everybody. Those are conflicts. And or you could call them extended military engagements.
Well, I remember.
So that's one way that they're really making sure that the Americans don't come together and protest against these wars. They're just not calling them wars. They're making it, hey, we need to go spread some democracy. Good, healthy democracy.
Well, it reminds me of one of my favorite Bill Hicks bits where he goes, you know, a war is when two armies are fighting.
Yeah. So, that's really the crux of this show, is calling out how bad the media is, how bad the Democrats have let you down and caused all of our problems, and see how you never get the truth about war. So you're not getting the truth about it. It's just amazing. So this is, you wonder how McCarthy happened? This is how it happens. It's just, it's unbelievable. You wonder how Vietnam happened. You wonder how look at the first Gulf War. We knew that. That guy should be in prison, George Herbert Walker Bush, for lying us into that war. So should his son. But the bad guy is Assad, who never attacked us. Ever. Assad has never attacked us. Ever. But we dropped so many bombs in Syria, we ran out of bombs in 2015. Okay. Please let me know if in the comments if you find another news show reporting this correctly. If you find another news show on establishment media, I'm talking Fox, NBC, I'm talking CNN, I'm talking MSNBC, any of those, Bloomberg, CNBC. If you see anybody who's reporting this correctly, please let me know. Please put a link or send an email to, what's our email?
Jimmy at jimmydorecomedy.com.
Jimmy at jimmydorecomedy.com. That's my email.
That's so easy.
That is pretty easy. I have to get that on my
Business card?
I have to get that on my email so that I can email people back. Because right now when I get the email goes to Ron and then it comes to me, who gives a shit? Okay, so thank you very much for watching. Please make sure you come to our June 30th show in Portland, Oregon. Make sure you're subscribed, because even if you think you are, you're probably not. Click the bell. Then you'll get a notification when we drop videos. They're not giving notifications to people. We did a video about that, and you have to click the bell. So thank you very much. And please, if you can become a patron, we give you hours of bonus material every week. And we're on Steam It right now. We're steaming it right now.
And that's how people get the Solid Chat Saturdays, is also being a premium member.
Oh, so yeah, we do Solid Chat Saturday. Every Saturday we do a live stream for a couple of hours where we take questions.
2 p.m.
And we at 2 p.m. every Saturday Pacific time, and we take questions and we'll answer them. And then we make that available for our patrons if they can't make it to our live stream, which a lot of them can't. So that goes there, plus lots of other comedy sketches. And thanks for your support.